Batanghari, the English lieutenant, a sea cook, who visited Jambi in September 1820, was the first to notice the antiquities of Muara Jambi. A few hours downstream, he writes, Muara Jambi is said to have been a capital town, and to have in its vicinity ruins of brick or stone buildings containing images and other sculpture. But time was wanting to search for and examine these remains of antiquity, and nothing was discovered but a mutilated diminutive figure of an elephant and a full-size head installed, having curly hair in the style of Judge wig and a vaguely carved cast of features. This letter with is sent with this report. It is to be regretted that he does not say from which ruin he removed the Buddha yet, for such it probably was, because the presence of a Nandi bull tells us that Siwaism also was represented in Muara Jambi. In March 1936, I made excavations at surveys there, which brought to light some new facts. The sojourn in this little village, with its primitive and kind inhabitants, was very pleasant. In the beginning, I stayed at the house of the Pasira. It was, however, very noisy there, as in the dead of the night people came who spoke and laughed aloud and sometimes even quarreled. Moreover, it very often came to blows, and in the darkness they threw at each other anything they could lay hands on. Once, on such an occasion, a whole pan of rice landed in my bed, so that I thought that my last hour had come. They were also in the habit of lighting big fires under the house at evening in order to keep the mosquitoes at a distance. Thick clouds of smoke surged through the floorboards, and made a further occupation of the large living room unbearable. In no time, we all had sooty faces. The soot also fell into the meal that had been prepared, but it seemed to annoy nobody. On the contrary, the Pasira then only felt quite comfortable and began to play a joyful little air on the mouth organ that I had brought for him from Europe. After a few days, I therefore decided to move to the school, which stood in the middle of the forest. In the evening, many natives would call the serious of making a careful study of the white dog Togbatu stone doctor, who had come from the mysterious west, and to hear what he had to tell them. The stories from Europa were a source of never-ending surprise and delight. These visitors flung themselves into passion upon the illustrated magazines and asked 1,000 questions based on the illustrations they contained. It was often difficult to answer them. How, for instance, could one make clear what an underground train was? A roaring fire horse, with spit flamed out of its nose, I said. Sometimes he dives into a large hole in earth and 100 miles farther till he comes out of another hole. Something like to go too near the waterfall, someone would ask. That's right, was their answer. And what was no? Hence feathers, which fall from the heavens. Up there is a large hen, which sometimes shakes herself. Why? Interrupted the boy. I confess my ignorance. Perhaps because he is hungry, murmured a compassionate girl. Or please suppose a more realistic old man. When it grows warm, all those feathers melt away. Nobody could understand what made hens' feathers melt away like that. But the story of the fire house spread abroad with great variability and brought the whole countryside into commotion. From distant villages, people came flocking hither in order to hear it again and again. The simple school in the forest changed into a sort of Mecca, and the fame of archaeology spread far and wide. Sometimes it was difficult to get rid of the people at 10 o'clock, but when this had been accomplished, all grew quiet. All the chirping of countless crickets filled the night. The Batanghari rusted. The Batanghari rusted, and through the crazy roof shone the silver stars. In the school, there were colored pictures of animals bearing their respective names in large letters. When the wind blew outside, these pictures began to rustle, and by the uncertain light of the oil lamp took on ghostly forms. The animals seemed to come to life, and their eyes began to glitter. They sprang about, roaring inaudibly at each other. When the lamp went out, it usually remained peaceful for a moment, and then suddenly a slight creaking was audible, a rustling noise of approaching steps, and a soft squeak. The mice were on their guns and sniffing carefully inspected the hammock. Who could that be lying there? They thought. At night, at about 3:30, it usually began to rain uncessantly for hours and hours. In the morning, a white mist hung over the Batanghari, which was then wider and deeper than ever. Prolonged floods inundate everything here, and the houses and the fields are deeply submerged in the water. Large branches of trees, pieces of woods, and sorts of grass drift along the river in an endless cavalcade. Sometimes whole trees are carried down to the sea serenely, stately, and almost gently. The only creatures that delight in all this are the dogs, quaking and screeching out to each other. They wabble around in the bush, happily beating their black wings or snapping at the smaller creatures with red beaks. At about 10:30, it begins to clear up. A delicate blue forces its way through in the dark sky, and children hasten outdoors to see whether the fish traps are already filled. A naked little girl with a large yellow flower in her hair descends from the shore to fill a kettle with water. A poor man by 2 women sets out to fish up as many pieces of roast food as possible. The current in the Batanghari is extraordinarily strong. I felt it when I went bathing in the afternoon. It required an extraordinary exertion to swim 10 meters up, and I even doubt whether a very strong man would be able to do so easily, as the shore is very muddy. A raft with a little horse on it has been on it a raft with a little horse on it has been built and so by a wooden staircase. The water is rich. The small hut serves a lavatory, well as the raft as a washing place. The first evidence of a village on the Batanghari is a row of such tiny white huts. On the first afternoon that I went swimming, the whole village came flocking out to watch this wonder. Under a cry of loud and prolonged cheers, I dived into the water, tumbled about, and imitated the various chorus. His skin is as white as the belly of a crocodile, a woman crying admiringly. Children flung themselves into the water, cheering loudly and asking to be pursued in play. I roared and snorted like a real crocodile and foam underwater. I shot forth at the rascals, who yelling loudly dispersed quickly. These performances gradually became a complete water ballet, for everybody wanted to join in the fun and be devout. The real name of the school is a royal mausoleum, according to the inhabitants, and therefore sacred. Excavations are not allowed. The wall has a three-plane frame, casemates, and an ogive. The steps are undecorated. Although it has something of a Hindu character, it is not impossible that we are concerned here with a Mohammedan building. Farther west, the temple of Gumpung was partly excavated. The entrance lies on the south side. The cellar floor and the steps are badly damaged. A broad path extends about the building, becoming unusually narrow by the steps where there is a peculiar extension. The facade has double-boarded panels. The cellar is 5.10 meters square, and is thus almost twice as large as that of Si Pamutung, Sumatra's last shrine. Some of the steps lies at the ridge, which is totally in ruins. The surrounding wall seems to consist of a double wall with a filling of earth of gravel. In the eastern wall there was once a gate. The entire courtyard is paved with brick, truly impressive piece of work. 43 meters west of the southwest corner begins the north wall of Candi Tinggi's enclosure. The unusual arrangement of the walls is recorded in the ground plan. On the west side lie a temple and terrace. In the east wall a gate. The contour of these three buildings could be only partially discerned. The court measures 150 meters, 150 meters from east to west and 155 meters from north to south, is thus the largest in Sumatra, and 4 times as large as that of Moratakus. Farther west, there are 3 other temples. Probably they were built in the 11th or 12th century, if we may believe that the images found in Jambi are from here. Some temples must be much older. Among these images are a life-size standing of Buddha with garment around broad shoulders of the 6th century, 2 little standing Buddhas, a Buddha torso with garment fold around the left arm, the back of an entirely destroyed image, and on a lotus cushion which plants springing from root bulbs, 2 elephants with diadem, 4 macaques with standing demons in their mouths. One of them bears the date 1064. A macaque with a kinara in his jaws, a ball, a column in stupa form, and a few fragments of lesser importance. West of the temple of Tinggi flows a rivulet called Sungai Melayu, reminding one of the famous Melayu, which was visited by the Chinese monk Yi Xing in 671. Now it is not certain whether Melayu lie here or in Palembang. It is possible that it formerly lay in Palembang in 683, was brought to Muara Jambi. We can even suppose that the ruins of Muara Jambi belong to the well-known city of Sriwijaya, and that here was the center of the state, which conquered Palembang in 683, Bangka in 666, etc. Maybe Balaputra, who in the 6th century founded an abbey in Nalanda on the Ganges, was a king of Jambi in 853, 861, 1029, 1082, 1088, 1281. Chanpe Jambi sent envoys to China. In 1024, it was conquered by the South Indian king Rajendra Choladewa. In 1262, Marco Polo mentioned it. From 1270 until 1293, the city must have presented a lively view through the presence of hundreds of Javanese soldiers. They formed the basis for the greatest expedition to the interior Tanah Datar, where a second town of Malay existed or was in the process of being built. This western town seems to have been destined to play a leading role. The eastern town probably has always a significance as a trading place. Concerning the temples of Gumpung and Tinggi, the inhabitants tell the following legend. Formerly this place was called Bukit Singuan or Turunan. Here lived the King Talani, who commanded one of his slaves to plough the field. The work went so slowly that the king became furious and threatened to kill the slave if the field was not ready on the following day. At night there came a mighty stranger who spat in the slave's mouth. Thereupon he suddenly became so strong that he could tear whole trees from the ground, and next morning the field was finished. The king now asked for the hand of a beautiful princess. She declared that she would be his wife if he would build a palace for her in one night. The slave was put to work and made rapid progress. Toward the end of the night, the palace was not quite completed. The prince secretly gave her servants the order to begin pounding rice. The king, when the king heard this, he thought daybreak had come. In despair, he destroyed the half-finished palace. It is very remarkable that in many of the legends of Jambi mention is made of works with Siam, and that in various places in East Jambi Siamese bronze images have been found. The best known the best known legend relates the Muara Jambi was at one time a magnificent city when ruled a prince named Sultan Talani. When a son was born to him, there were storms and earthquakes. Alarmed by these manifestations, he summoned his stargazers and asked the meaning of these evil omens. They declared that the prince would one day bring disaster to his father. Sultan Talani then put the child into a chest with the letter and threw him into the sea. The wind drove the chest to the coast of Siam, and the king of that country adopted the baby as his own child. When the prince became a youth, he asked the king why the prince always avoided him, and the answer was that his own father was the king of Jambi. The prince then took a great army to Jambi, conquered his father, and killed him in a duel. All the people of Jambi were taken prisoner and brought over to Siam. Their own country became a wilderness. To the north, in the Tunggal district, there are stories of a mighty ruler, Raja Gaga, who had a beautiful daughter. A Siamese prince came to ask for her hand, but was refused. He then returned with a mighty army, built forts in several places, but was killed at Merlong, when his grave is still found. East of Sungai Asam, a smaller river which flows into the Batanghari near Jambi. There lies a holy grave deep in the jungle. The people call it Kramat Talang Jawa because a certain Pangeran Tumenggung Puspali from Solo, Java, lies buried there. This Pangeran had announced that he wishes to be buried in this place. When the funeral was about to begin there, when the funeral was about to begin, there came a ship loaded with stones from Java and anchored at the mouth of the Sungai Asam. Now a chain of 4,000 people was formed, extending from the harbour to the grave, and every stone was passed from hand to hand. A square was made 20 times 20 meters. The stones were not cemented, but were simply built one on top of the other, making a wall more than 3 feet high. Back of the grave is that of Pangeran's wife, and at the side are buried the cat and the dog with which he used to play. The Pangeran also had a son, and when he had reached the age when he had to be circumcised, the ceremony was attempted 3 times, but in vain. When the boy saw the operation was failure, he told his father and the people that now he could not be a good Mohammedan, and therefore it was better for him to go away. His father had no objection, and so the son went away. No one knew where. He went into the forest and was called Raden Alas. Tired at least with his wanderings and feeling ill and forsaken, he dug himself a grave and laid himself in it until death made an end to his upbringing. This grave must be somewhere deep in the jungle. The province of Jambi had a ruler of its own in the olden times, but was submitted to this prince of Mataram, to whom it had to pay tribute every 2 half years. The principal settlement was stayed at Tanjung Jabung. On one day, a man came from Turkey called Paduka Berhala, who had 4 sons. The youngest, Orang Kaya Item, a brave and audacious man, made a plan with his brothers to keep back the next tribute with the purpose of freeing the country from Mataram. When the time came in which the tribute should be paid, the Prince of Mataram waited in vain. The generals and councillors sent by him to Jambi were killed at the command of Item. At this, the three other brothers were much perturbed, but Item said to them, "This country always belonged to our forefathers, Prince of Pagaruyung, and so it also belongs to us, their descendants." Twice after this, the tribute was also held back, and the ruler of Mataram, not wanting to investigate the matter anymore, sent some brave warriors to kill Item. These people were killed again by Item. The Prince of Mataram realized that it was no use fighting against such a brave man, and ordered an astrologer from Pemalang to come to him in order to learn from him how to kill Item. The astrologer informed him to have a weapon rock of iron obtained from 9 different places and derived from 9 different objects whose names should begin with Pa. The iron, however, should be got by theft. So some sly thieves went out and were so lucky to hand the monarch the desired iron. The astrologer commanded to send for some smiths from Pamajapahit who should make the iron into a sword. These people were set to work by the Prince of Mataram in a deep pit, so that the people in Jambi nor anywhere else should know what was going on. Besides, it had been stipulated that the smiths were only allowed to do a stroke with the hammer every Friday. When the sword was nearly ready, Item came to hear of the intentions of the ruler of Mataram, on which he decided to go to Mataram himself to take with him the tribute that had still to be paid. Before leaving, he ordered his brothers to break up Ujung Jabung and build a new fortress. Hereupon he embarked. Although his expedition was kept a secret by all the people that had joined, it was after all made known by Jambi traders sailing to Java. The ruler of this territory then declared that he should give his daughter in marriage to Item, but he really intended a stratagem. The prince thereupon gathered his generals and officials to meet Item ceremoniously on his arrival, while at the same time he sent out people to find out if Item were coming or not. This man really saw the vessel in which the tribute used to be transported near the coast, and they informed the prince. Item's boat made near the shore of Mataram a little fishing boat with one man inside. Item suddenly had an inspiration. He made an arrangement with the skipper of his vessel that he should order him to buy fish, but of a small kind. Thereupon he, Item, would buy big fish, and the skipper should pretend to be angry and pretend to beat him to death. Further, the skipper should ask for the fisherman's help to bury Item's body on land. "I want to investigate," said Item, "whether the Prince of Mataram will really give me his daughter in marriage. To find out the truth about the making of the sword, I want to visit the place where it is made. As for you, before landing in Mataram, you must wait for news from me." No sooner said than done. In battering about the fish, a squabble arose between Item and his keeper, with the consequence that he beat him until he became unconscious and looked like a dead person. The fisherman grew alarmed, but with money and kindliness, the skipper persuaded him to bring Item's body on land. Before pushing off, however, the fisherman made the remark that the vessel together resembled the one in which the Jambi tribute used to be transported, and that the skipper might get into trouble for slaying one for his people. The sailors then replied that it was indeed the boat that the skipper really was Item, who had killed many people. The fishermen did not wonder anymore that Item should be the man, and that had beheaded the tribute, and he rode off, thinking on his way that he might be accused of Item's death. He threw the dead body overboard and went on. Item dived, swam ashore, and went inland, disguised a beggar. For some children, he learned the road to Majapahit, and heard from them that name was changed into Pamajapahit because the priest of Mataram had ordered Chris to be made there of iron from 9 different places whose name begin Pa, and made object also beginning with Pa. Item then went on looking for the spot when the Chris was being rolled. The fisherman who had landed made it known meanwhile that Item's boat had been near the coast but had returned. The prince of Mataram hurried on finishing of the Chris, for he did not trust Item's supernatural qualities. If he was far away, he seemed there, and vice versa. The smith in the pit then walked in uninterruptedly and had almost finished the Chris when Item approached the pit. The smith called out to him, "Hello, beggar, what news from Item?" Item told them that he could not even whisper it to him, upon which he descended into the pit. He saw the Chris, questioned them about it, and they replied to his questions. They even gave the weapon into his hands. Item wanted to examine them if the Chris really had the properties ascribed to it, and stuck it to the anvil which was split in two. Then he lifted the Chris, and shouting, "I am Item," he attacked the smiths, killed them all, killing also the other people in the pit, 40 men all told. He then stormed with the Chris out of the pit and ran amok in Pamajapahit. The inhabitants fled to Mataram and informed the prince of what had happened. The latter cried, "Now Item's supernatural power has been proved. No one saw his special land, and already he has run amok with sword in 9 villages." In his frenzy, the prince raised his army. Then the news came that Item had already entered Mataram, which was made the prince more anxious. One of his councillors then approached him and suggested to make an arrangement to prevent a big slaughter. The prince thought the man was right, and went into the palace to consult his wife. Thereupon his daughter Putri Ratu approached him and saying, "O father, allow me to marry Item, lest our country should be ruined. He is a brave man, if he behaves, appoint him as a chief in Jambi." The prince consented and went to meet Item with Putri Ratu and whole retinue, preceded by 3 priests and 4 councillors. Putri Ratu was in bridal attire. When they met Item, he said that he had wanted to wait on the prince because he had heard the prince would make him son-in-law. He was sorry to have run amok and to have murdered so many people. The prince addressed him and offered him his daughter as wife. The marriage was consummated there and then by 3 priests. As wedding gift, the princess declared that she wanted to receive the Jambi settlements. Item obeyed upon the whole crown and re-entered the prince's palace. Item, being ashamed of his get-up, struck as a sudden inspiration the crease in his hair as a kind of ornament, shouting 3 times, shouting 3 times in a loud voice. Let it be known to every Japanese that from this moment the kiss shall be called Shigenji. So this is the origin. The name of Shigenji for Gunjai is the head ornament called from which Okaitem used the kiss. Some days after this event, Okaitem looked at the keys and made a plan to embellish it. He ordered the smith to come and told him to make 5 bends in the weapon to focus in the upper gun a dragon's head. Then he returned to Jambi with a whole fleet. During the passage, he occupied himself with the finishing touches of the keys, while all the workmen he had taken along bestowed themselves on making the lower part in the work of which everyone had a special share as beautiful as possible. It was not long before the kiss was quite finished. Not long after the ship's wake occurred at Ujung Jabung. A large feast was given lasting 40 days and nights, and of which men and women, old and young, partook. When Okaitem and Putih Ratu, dressed in full splendor, had taken their seats on the throne before the court, Putih Ratu commanded that their imperial ornaments Sikunjai and Sinanchan should be brought forth, upon which Hulu Balang Prabu Wigolang explained to the crowd in a loud voice the meaning of the imperial ornaments, announcing at the same time that Okaitem and his wife had taken the place of the Prince of Mataram. The imperial ornament Sigunjai, he continued, shall be respected by the whole Jambi nation, shall be paid tribute to it regularly, and he who owns it is our ruler. Thereupon he took Sigunjai out of the silver dish of Tampujus, in which it was lying, paid homage to it, and handed it to Okaitem, whereupon the whole court paid homage to it. Some drank the Tampujus in which it had been lying, in consequence of which they tumbled against drank, which convinced them of sanctity of the ornament. Putih Ratu then announced to the people in a melodious voice the meaning of the other imperial ornaments they had brought along, and when, after it, the Jambi chiefs had taken the oath of allegiance to the imperial ornaments, the ceremony was over. It is thought of the people that had become drunk after the tampi juice that they gave one another all sorts of titles, e.g. Sigunjai Mabok, which means the drunken Sigunjai. In this way, the story of the imperial ornament was made known among the people. The prince of Jambi succeeded each other in course of the years, and the Kisigenje and the lands Sinanjan even remained the symbols of the imperial power in Jambi. After Okaitem's death, his brothers succeeded him. When they died, royalty passed on to Okaitem's children, who bore the title of Susuhunan Pulau Johor. This remained thus for 7 generations until the grandson of the last Susuhunan Pulau Johor became ruler and bore the title of Panembahan. Five princes held this title. After the Panembahan of Muara Bijuan, the royalty dignity passed into the hands of the grandson of the Panembahan of Bawah Sawah. He and his successors held the title of Sultan. The last was Sultan Taha, named Saipuddin, in the Malay language, and according to the adat, Sultan Agung Sri Ingalaga. One day, when the Sultan was on a journey to Mangunjaya, he was shipwrecked near Muara Tembesi at a place called Teluk Air Dingin. On this occasion, the Kisigenje sank to the bottom. Thereupon, all the Jambi subjects on the 9 tributaries of the Batanghari were gathered together at Teluk Air Dingin and were requested to dive out to the Kis. No one, however, got it because it had fallen between the coils of the Bidai snake. One day, however, someone came down the river in a prau and was stopped by the Sultan, as since the moment that Sigenje had fallen in the river, no one was allowed to pass the spot, whether up or downstream, without having dived for the crease. His name and descent were asked, and the man replied, "My name is Pasulung from Serampas, and I am on my way to Kota Kandis to sacrifice at Orang Kaya's tomb to fulfill a vow." He succeeded in getting back the keys. A different reading of the legend says, when these provinces still paid tribute to Mataram, the country was called Kebon Lado and Jambi Grambi, and at the time there lived a certain Paduka Berhalo, a man gifted with supernatural strength. He lived at Pulau Berhalo on the mouth of the Batanghari. Paduka Berhalo was ambitious and jealous of Mataram's power, therefore he made up his mind to take possession of the above-mentioned tribute. He waited for the embassy, which was to take along the tribute, murdered them all, and stole the tribute. The ruler of Mataram matched up against him but was defeated. He managed to return secretly to his country. Here he meditated revenge. He called for the help of the great and wise ones in the country in order to obtain a weapon with which he should infallibly slay his enemy. A curse was then made, which through supernatural influence or quite extraordinary properties, a tree would fade immediately after it had been touched by the weapon for just 1 second. An animal in the neighborhood of the place where the curse was hidden would die immediately too. Death and destruction were the least things it could cause. The reputation of that cruel weapon spread on the wings of the wind. From far and near people flocked to behold it, and everyone might see it without touching it, for only the touch would be deadly. Paduka Berhalo also went on a pilgrimage to the Mataram Greece. He went disguised as a beggar, so that one had no inkling of his person and his intentions when he approached the sacred object, making use of his supernatural power, which was greater than that of that weapon. He got hold of it and threw himself amidst the dense crowd. In a moment, hundreds were killed. The prince himself managed to get away in time and escape at least used slaughter. Paduka Berhalo took the weapon with him and returned to Jambi, where he was soon proclaimed ruler. At Sungai Langsat, on the northern bank of the Batanghari district Tanah Datar Residency, west coast of Sumatra, a gigantic image was discovered, a terrifying figure. It represents the Malay ruler Aditya Varman, with a knife and a skull in his hands, serpents twined about his ankles, wrists, upper arms, and in his ears stand a recumbent human body, which in turn rests a pedestal of huge grinning skulls. The image, which was made in the middle of the 14th century, represents Aditya Varman at the height of his power. The king had spent his youth at the Japanese court of Mojopahit, where he came into contact with the Bhairawas, or terrible ones, a mystic sect of demonic Buddhism with Shivitic elements, which had originated about the 6th century in the eastern part of Bengal. From thence, it spread over China, penetrated Tibet, and advanced toward China, Mongolia, and Japan, where it still exists in a degenerated form. It also penetrated over India and the Indonesian archipelago, at first entering Sumatra, where it reached its culmination in the 11th century, spreading thence to Java. In the time of Aditya Varman, its converts included the rulers at the Javanese court, a fact which in turn stimulated the final revival of demonic Buddhism in Sumatra. The Bhairawas sought the highest bliss in mystic union with their supreme god. In order to attain this, they sacrificed human beings and, standing on the victims' bodies, allowed themselves to be initiated as gods. At this ceremony, the drinking of blood played an important role, since blood was believed to be heavenly white, which inspired them to ecstatic dances. Another part of the ritual was the rating of human bones. The graveyards where these ceremonies took place at night were called by names such as the ever flaming, the eternal somber, the field by the sound of vultures. Here Mahakala, lord of cemeteries, with his red, flaming hair, appeared to the faithful in the midst of pillars of smoke, destroying all earthly ties. In 1370, Aditya Varman was initiated as a god by the name of Setranya, and thrown alone on a heap of corpses, dodging diabolically and drinking blood. While his great human sacrifice was consumed in flames, spreading an unbearable stench, which, however, affected the initiated as the perfume of 10 million flowers, according to the inscription. A few hundred yards northwest of the image lies a brick temple, which I excavated in October 1935. It turned out to be a structure 20 odd yards square, with steps to the four quarters of the wing. An inscription found at the same space announces that Aditya Varman had the building repaired in 1347, so that apparently it had fallen into disuse. On this occasion, a dramatic performance was given, in which the king himself appeared as a dancer. He compares himself with Buddha, who descends from heaven to cheer humanity. He dances in the fragrant forest, resounding with the swear song of birds and the lonely chant of heavenly nymphs amid fountains where elephants disport themselves. Ordinarily, of course, the Bhairava dances were not so graceful. Some time ago, the Netherlands government decided to bring this image into their inhabited world. The silence of the jungle on the Batanghari was broken by the sound of many voices. Ages ago, the colossal image had been erected for eternity. Now 300 coolies toiled to lower it with thick cables from the highway. In the river below, a sturdy raft lay ready to receive the massive stone. Once thought went back through the centuries to the time when an army of engineers and workmen pushed the sacred image to the river's bank. They must have been filled with a terrible fear at the thought that the statue might break, and the angry god descend in flaming cloud to destroy them all. It took many days before the colossus was rowed upstream from Sungai Langsat to Sungai Dare. There, it was loaded on a motor lorry and transported to Sijunjung. During the transportation, a terrible storm arose, and a great tree fell directly in front of the lorry, almost crushing the image in its fall. It was as if the spirit of the departed king were protesting. In Sijunjung, it was set up against a background of bougainville, and the rosy color seemed to penetrate the hearthstone. Every evening at sunset, the image assumed a mysterious, soft, glowing hue, as though it yearned to absorb the light. Some months later, it was decided to bring it to Fort de Kock, where there is a fine art museum with a zoological garden. The strongest motor lorry was selected. First, 3-ton pedestal with the skulls was transported, then the 4-ton statue itself. In the zoological garden, it was set on a hill facing Merapi, Sumatra's sacred volcano mentioned in ancient legends. On its flaming summit once descended Iskandar Zulkarnain, the first king of Malays. Image and mountain now regard each other. There is a mystic communion between the two. The glory of Sungai Langsat has long departed, The great image has been removed, and the temple is fallen into ruins. Over the desolate jungle in the Batanghari descends the warm Sumatra night with its multitude of stars in a clear sky.